So we will be focusing on yung sa lockdown experience ni Joseph. So I entitled itong message natin ng In the Cell of Joseph. Okay? So to summarize siguro for a quick recap nung hindi naman yung buong story, but from the story na pag-aaralan natin today, I'll be sharing a video na kuha ko lang siya sa YouTube. Medyo natuwa ako sa video na yon. So it summarizes yung story natin for today. So if you want, you can also read in parallel Genesis chapter 39, starting verse 19 until Genesis chapter 41. Okay, so mag-share ako ng video. So let's pray na lang muna as we go through yung story ni Joseph in his prison. Dear Lord, Heavenly Father, we just wanted to thank you, Lord, for this afternoon na binigay niyo sa amin, Lord, for us to be able nga po, Father, to really know nga po, Father, how you are in control, Lord, even if we are in, sabihin na natin, in a worst scenario possible in our life, Lord. May just guide us, Father, as we hear your message today, Lord. Guide us, Father, open our hearts, Lord, and allow us nga po, Father, to really be able nga po, Father, to know ano po yung mga kailangan namin gawin during this time of pandemic. This is our prayer, Lord, in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Okay, sige. So yan, no? Okay, so quick background lang on who Joseph is. So based doon sa video na pinakita natin, no? And in Genesis chapter 37, diniscuss doon kung sino si Joseph, okay? So Joseph lived in Canaan and he had 11 brothers and 1 sister. Okay? Then during this in Genesis 37 rin sinabi doon na si Joseph daw, he is considered to be the favorite son of his father Jacob. Bakit? Dahil daw doon sa colorful robe na binigay sa kanya ni Jacob. Then because of this one, nainggit sa kanya yung mga brothers niya, so Joseph was sold off by his brothers and he became a slave in the house of Potiphar. Okay. Then fast forward, nung nandoon na si Joseph sa house ni Potiphar, nagustuhan siya nung wife ni Potiphar. So sineduce siya, since ayaw niya, nag-resist siya sa temptation, pinagbintangan siya, inaccuse siya ng asawa ni Potiphar na nire-rape siya. So ang nangyari, Joseph was wrongly accused and he was thrown into prison. Okay, so yun yung buong first portion of the story before tayo pupunta doon sa story ni Joseph in the prison. Okay, so Joseph in prison or Joseph's prison. Ano nga ba ang prison ni Joseph? So Joseph was strongly accused by the wife of Potiphar and put him behind bars. So sabi sa Genesis 39, verse 19 to 20, when his master heard the story of his wife, saying, "This is how your slave treated me," he burned with anger. So Joseph's master, which is Potiphar, took him and put him in prison. So saang prison siya dinala? It is the place where the king's prisoner were confined. Okay. So imagine, no, Joseph experiencing all these things sa life niya. Parang ang ganda ng buhay niya, nung nasa kasama niya yung family niya, favorite siya ng dad niya. But in an instant, because of, aside from the robe, di ba, nagkaroon rin siya ng mga dream about yung brothers niya yung magbabow down sa kanya and etc. That's why mas tumindi yung inggit ng mga brothers niya sa kanya. So the brothers planned na ibenta si Joseph. So nung binenta si Joseph, napunta siya sa naging servant siya ni Potiphar. No? Imagine, yun yung unang beses na feel ko, for me, if ako yon, I'll feel na sobrang unfair. Then come next na okay na, sige, nakakapag-serve na siya, nakakatrabaho na siya, everything is going smoothly. Then come another tragedy which put him into prison. Hindi lang prison it's actually yung I think, no, if it is a king's prisoners yung nandoon, medyo heightened yung security doon, no. So it's an extra prison for Joseph. Okay. So right now, I want us to think, no, what does a prison look like? Ano ba yung mga ideas nyo on prison? Okay? So sabi dito, a prison daw is a building in which people are legally held as a punishment for a crime they have committed or while they are awaiting trial. And a prison is a place where we consider na walang freedom. If we look at the prison or mga cell dito sa Philippines, makikita natin para talagang sardinas yung mga prisoners, di ba? So parang bukod sa wala ka ng freedom, it's really an uncomfortable place to be at, uncomfortable place to be in, no? So I believe that prison is really a place of obscurity for every one of us, na tayo lang, kung iisipin natin, parang hindi ko ma-imagine na mapunta sa prison. Though nung college ako, nagkaroon ako ng chance na parang mag-visit sa prison siya, juvenile detention center. So prison siya for those 18 and below. So parang at ganong experience pa lang, medyo hindi na siya magandang experience in a way na nakakatakot, nakaka-suffocate, and at the same time parang it's so not pleasant to be in prison. But imagine Joseph na hindi niya deserve to be in prison, but he was put in this place. Okay? So, siguro i-discuss ko lang, no? Aside from that, ito yung prison ko. Okay? So, kasi kung titingnan natin, no, prison, yung pagkaka-describe ko kanina, a prison is a place that is not pleasant. And I believe naman that hindi naman lahat tayo or maybe wala sa atin mapupunta sa real prison in our lifetime, Lord. But then we know na there are different kinds of prison that we are currently living in. Okay? And for me, one of my prisons is my mind. For myself, ito yung artwork na napili ko. It is the thoughts na continue na pumapasok sa utak ko. Okay? So dahil continue pumapasok sa utak ko tong thoughts na to, nagkaroon ako ng anxieties na parang hindi ako makawala with my own thoughts. And these thoughts, hindi lang siya basta thoughts, nagma-manifest rin siya in my sleep, physically, and mentally. So last week, nagkaroon na naman ako ng anxiety attacks. So I had siguro for ilang days siya. Nagsimula siya around Tuesday last week until I think Saturday or Sunday. So hindi siya yung normal kind of worry. It's more of an intense kind of worry and intense kind of fear. So kung ako, I can say that I can describe my prison as my mind. So yung mind ko yung nagko-control ng katawan ko and I became a prisoner of my thoughts. So this is my prison. And I believe lahat tayo, we have our different experiences of prison or our different definition of prison. No, not like yung literal na prison, but at the same time, we have our own prison. It can be prison, our homes can become our prison. Kasi mahirap. Sometimes, hindi naman tayo pare-parehas ng pinagdadaanan. But for some, home is suffocating. For some, a relationship is suffocating. For some, yung pressures ng study is suffocating. Okay? For some naman, even the addiction na meron tayo, addicted to food, addicted to games, it becomes our prison. So lahat tayo, we have our own definition of prison. That's why I ask everyone to think about yung ano yung picture or ano yung artwork that would define your prison. What is your prison? So this time, ito yung gagawin natin. We'll have muna breakout groups lang. So we'll give you 8 minutes to discuss or share with your group lang. Ano ba yung definition nyo of your prison based on the artwork or the picture na napili nyo? Even if, kung titingnan natin in the life of Joseph, no? Ako sobrang believe ako kay Joseph eh. I'm not sure if na hindi ko lang siya nabasa or nadaanan, but I don't think Joseph complained eh. No matter kung ano yung nangyari sa kanya, no? Parang tuloy-tuloy lang siya, no? Because I believe that during the start ng prison pa lang ni Joseph, God was with him. Okay? So prison, even though prison is a place of obscurity or a place na hindi natin gustong puntahan, but we can also think as prison as a place of opportunity, just like what happened to Joseph, no? Prison as a place of opportunity. Similar na etong lockdown experience natin right now with COVID-19 can become a place of opportunity for every one of us. Your own prisons, for me, for example sa akin, may anxiety attacks, yung schools nyo, yung pressures nyo with school, it can be a place of opportunity. Okay. Sabi nga dito sa if I read the Genesis chapter 39 verses 20 to 23, but while Joseph was there in prison, the Lord was with him. He showed him kindness and granted him favor in the eyes of the prison warden. Okay. So the warden put Joseph in charge of all those held in the prison, and he was made responsible for all that was done there. The warden paid no attention to anything under Joseph's care because the Lord was with Joseph and gave him success in whatever he did. No? So imagine, no, if we focus too much on the negative things, kadalasan makakaligtaan natin or mawawala sa mata natin yung mga good things na binibigay sa atin ni God. Similar with my anxieties, na pagka naging super negative thinker ko na, kadalasan I forgot to appreciate the things na binibigay ni God, no. So in here, no, simula pa lang makikita natin, no, the Lord was with Joseph because Joseph was made in charge of the prisoners doon sa cell na yon. And tingnan nyo rin dito, no, the warden paid no attention to anything under Joseph's care. So nagkaroon ng full trust yung warden with Joseph. And I believe it also speaks about the character of Joseph, that even if napunta siya sa prison na to, yung character niya remains intact, remains with integrity. Kaya siya pinagkatiwalaan netong warden na to. And at the same time, si God yung gumawa ng lahat na to. Si God yung nagbigay ng success kay Joseph in whatever he did, no? So it is a place of opportunity if, for one, yung character mo will still glorify God. Pangalawa, makikita natin, no, na si Joseph, if hindi siya napunta dito sa prison na to, hindi ma-assign under his care yung cupbearer and yung baker. Okay, so ano bang nangyari doon sa cupbearer at baker? Paano naging place of opportunity yung prison na nagkaroon siya ng interaction with two of the most na nakakasalamuha ng king, no? So parang ang wonderful lang, no, na sa simula makikita natin na how prison is really a place na suffocating. But then while we are in that place or while we are experiencing that place, God will continue to show opportunities for us. He will continue to show kung ano man yung mga plano niya for our life. And because of this interaction ni Joseph with cupbearer and the baker, nagkaroon siya ng chance to interpret the dreams of these two officials. Okay? So magtatawag nga ako, ano yung dream ng cupbearer at ano yung dream ng baker? And ano yung interpretation? Sige, tawag tayo. Sinong pwedeng tawagin? Si Angel. Angel, ano yung dream ng cupbearer?
Joseph, in my dream, I saw a vine in front of me, and on the vine were 3 branches. As soon as it budded, it blossomed, and its clusters ripened into grapes. Pharaoh's cup was in my hand, and I took the grapes, squeezed them into Pharaoh's cup, and put the cup in his hand.
So ano daw yung interpretation nung dream ng cupbearer?
The 3 branches are 3 days. Within 3 days, Pharaoh will lift up your hand and restore you to your position. And you will put Pharaoh's cup in his hand just as you used to do when you were his cupbearer.
Okay. So kung titingnan natin, no, for the cupbearer, maganda yung interpretation ng dream niya, no. So in Genesis 40 verse 8, sinabi dito ni Joseph na before niya in-interpret yung dream, binanggit na niya na si God yung mag-i-interpret ng dream. that the dreams, hindi naman siya mag-i-interpret nun, but interpretation belongs to God. And he was able to interpret the dream of the cupbearer. Ano naman yung dream ng baker? Si Tyler.
When the chief baker saw that Joseph had given a favorable interpretation, he said to Joseph, I too had a dream on my head were 3 baskets of bread. In the top basket were all kinds of baked goods for Pharaoh, but the birds were eating them out of the basket on my head.
Okay, so ano daw yung interpretation?
This is what it means, Joseph said. The 3 baskets are 3 days. Within 3 days, Pharaoh will lift off your head and impale your body on a pole, and the birds will eat away your flesh. Now the 3rd day was Pharaoh's birthday, and he gave a feast for all his officials. He lifted up the head of the chief cupbearer and the chief baker in the presence of his officials.
With this, no, with what is happening kay Joseph, kung hindi siya napunta dito sa prison na to, he will not be able to interpret the dreams of the cupbearer and the baker. And kung ifa-fast forward natin, makikita natin yung story na because of this, na-interpret niya rin yung dream ni Pharaoh. Okay, and that put him into a position that is second in command of Pharaoh. Okay, so right now, if we'll look into the whole picture, no, God was, or the Lord was with Joseph during his time of prison. And I believe no, na lahat tayo hindi naman ganun kabilis na mabuhay sa isang prison na gusto na nating makawala. Okay. May it be the prison of our thoughts na gusto na natin makawala sa thoughts natin. Gusto na natin matapos yung academics natin. Gusto nating makalabas ng bahay. All of those things, we wanted it to end. But hindi naman siya ganun kabilis lang. Most of the time, meron tayong tinatawag na waiting period. And this is what happened. No? Kung titingnan natin, no, a prison is also a place of obedience and patience. Okay. In Genesis chapter 40, verse 23, the chief cupbearer, however, did not remember Joseph. He forgot him. Parang nakakainis, di ba? So kung ikaw, in-interpret mo na yung dream niya, nagkatotoo na yung dream niya, hindi ba dapat unang-unang maaalala niya ikaw? But during this time, hindi naalala ng chief cupbearer si Joseph. Okay. Kailan lang naalala? After 2 full years. Tsaka lang nagkaroon ng chance si Joseph na ma-interpret yung dream ni Pharaoh. Imagine that 2 long years na nasa prison si Joseph. Ano yung kailangan niyang gawin? I believe no na hindi naman binanggit ano yung ginawa ni Joseph in that 2 long years. But given that na si Joseph is still trusted, I believe that he is obedient to the authority na sinet sa kanya ni God. Na sometimes tayo iniisip natin no na ang hirap-hirap mag-antay. Ang hirap-hirap makulong with what we are currently experiencing. That normally ang ginagawa natin is to complain. But hindi natin nakikita that what we needed to do is to be patient and to obey. No? Is God really not around ba during these 2 years? I don't think so. God's silent is not in action on his part. He is working in the background, preparing for the path for us. Neither should waiting be in action on our part. As we wait, we need to be patient and we need to obey. Pinakita ko dito sa right side. So I've mentioned earlier na last 2 week, parang halos 1 week akong inaatake ng anxiety. So it's pagising ko talagang anxious na ako, hindi na ako makahinga. Then matatapos lang yung anxiety ko pag gabi or madaling araw, then sleep, pagising, ganun ulit. So I believe that God is not silent. He may seem silent kasi sobrang focused tayo with our prison, but He is not silent. So He gave me this, no? I prayed to the Lord and He answered me. He freed me from all my fears. So when I devotion ko to eh. When I read it, I believe that the Lord already freed me from whatever fears I am having. Fears of the future maybe. Na yung fears na sobrang suffocating, na hindi mo alam ano yung mangyayari in the future. Every day is the same. Na hindi mo alam kung makakawala ka, magkakasakit ka, mayroong anything na mangyayari. No? But God is there. And He is there in your life if you will seek Him. Okay, if you will obey and you will be silent before Him. Okay, so we need to look at the waiting period natin as a time for us to be obedient kay God and to be patient on His revelations in our life. Okay, in the season of waiting, we need to know that waiting is an opportunity for us to hear God. And how can we hear God if hindi tayo nag-obey sa mga sinasabi niya? No? We need to be able to obey so that we can hear God. And we need to look at a waiting period or the lockdown period or the prison period as an opportunity for us to be molded by our Creator. Okay? And at the same time, kaya nangyayari tong lahat because He is also preparing us for the task that He will be entrusting us after this lockdown. And I believe, no, hindi lang naman lockdown yung prison natin eh. For example, for Aya Jico, sinabi kanina ni Aya Jico, yung Mapua yung prison niya, no. So, in the time that you are in your prison, how are you using that opportunity to know more about God's revelation sa life mo? I believe yun yung kailangan perception natin. Instead of focusing on our prison, instead of focusing on gaano ba kapangit yung prison natin, we need to focus on gaano ba kaganda yung gagawin ni God after natin makawala sa prison that we are in right now. So in getting out of prison, kung titingnan natin, no, once we get out of prison, ito yung nangyari kay Joseph, no. So Genesis 41, chapter 41 verses 37 to 40, it is an opportunity talaga to glorify God. Sabi dito, the plan seemed good to Pharaoh and to all his officials. So Pharaoh asked them, can we find anyone like this man, one in whom is the Spirit of God? Then Pharaoh said to Joseph, since God has made all this known to you, there is no one so discerning and wise as you. You shall be in charge of my palace, and all my people are to submit to your orders. Only with respect to the throne will I be greater than you. No? So paglabas ni Joseph, he was able to interpret the dreams of Pharaoh. And hindi naman nakita ni Pharaoh si Joseph as Joseph. Pharaoh saw God who is with Joseph. So it is an opportunity for Joseph to really glorify God because he is obedient. Okay, so fast forward, kung gusto nyo, pwede nyo panoorin yung video or basahin nyo na lang yung buong Genesis hanggang 50 para malaman nyo kung ano na yung mga nangyari for Joseph. No? But in Genesis 50, in chapter 50, verses 19 to 20, Joseph acknowledged that God planned all this for good. Sabi ni Joseph, but Joseph said to them, don't be afraid. Am I in the place of God? You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good to accomplish what is being done, the saving of many lives. Ito na kasi yung portion na nakaharap na ni Joseph yung family niya. Okay, so parang kino-confront na niya na hindi nyo naman kailangan matakot. Because I believe that everything happens because God intended it. So that God can accomplish what needs to be done. And that is, in this time, the saving of lives. And I believe lahat tayo, no? We are put in the prison that we are in right now for a purpose. Okay? And that purpose is for us to be able to glorify God after. And at the same time, for us to be able to bring many people towards God. Na yung place of prison natin is not a place na hanggang dun lang. It is a place of opportunity for God to show wonders in our lives. So I hope, no, that as we remain in this lockdown, no, we will be able to refocus our minds and see how we can obey God and how we can be patient while obeying God. Okay? So, ngayon, ano na tayo? Discussion question na tayo. Break out na ulit tayo. Nag-extend na ako. Okay. So, may dalawa lang tayong discussion question. So, una, have you experienced a time of waiting? Can you share your experience? Pangalawa, have you ever felt like you were in a prison, whether it be emotionally, spiritually, or mentally, and God abandoned you? If so, how did you recover from that? Are you still in the process of recovery?